Welcome to the Inner King Initiative, where we're normalizing the conversations that we should have every day in the Black community, especially as Black men. We're coming here to educate, you come here to learn, just to feel safe, be in your space. And today, I have a great guest on, Dr. Joshua Smith. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
And I'm good, fabulous, actually.
Yeah, good.
And learning to enjoy life even through the storms, right?
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think that's super important. And being in the space that you're in when it comes to therapy,
Mm.
right? Uh, and this is a platform of healing, a platform of just being authentic to yourself.
Yeah.
Why is it important for Black men to go to therapy?
Wow. It's important for Black men to go to therapy because we need a space that is just for us. It's a safe space that we can be vulnerable and that we can release the things that we're carrying. As Black men, we go through so much, but we don't often have outlets because we're seen by what we can provide or how well we can perform. But therapy is really a place where you don't have to perform. You can just come and just be. So it's really important for Black men to have those spaces where they can also be held accountable, but also be vulnerable and just sit and be in process.
Accountable with love, though.
Yes,
Like,
yes,
yeah, there's some judgmental accountability, but it's that gentle accountability, that
right.
firm, like especially man to man. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
my therapist was a Black man, and he would challenge me, and
Mhm.
I loved it every time because it was like, all right, you're making me be better.
Right, right,
You're
right.
challenging my thought and stretching me
Mhm.
longer. And when we're looking at like that, it's a form of self healing, right?
It
Self help,
is
self
self
love,
care, all
all
of
that,
that.
right?
Yeah.
And so when you're dealing with a lot of your patients or clients,
Mhm.
what are some of the most common things you're seeing among Black men?
Yeah, well, I'll start by saying that about 75% of my caseload are Black men,
Mm,
which is a good thing, a very
right.
good thing, and it's not commonly heard of. So I went to school and got my doctorate in professional counseling, and my dissertation was actually on treating Black men
Mhm.
with depression using evidence-based approaches and faith-based integration. So after that, I started to see more Black men come in, and what I'm seeing is depression, anxiety, trauma, and grief. So those are the top things. And also relationship issues. So those are like the top five things that I'm seeing that Black men are dealing with and actually needing interventions that are tailored to them to help walk them through that journey.
Okay. Okay. And so what got you to this phase of this occupation?
Yeah, so I've always been a person that listened well.
Okay.
And so even as a young child, I always teased people in my family and friends. Like I always had them coming to me, just kind of opening up and telling me their whole life story, even in Walmart. Like to this day, I don't like going into stores because I'm often people. I guess they think I have just a face that of a person that listens. So people just kind of dump on me, and of course I've had to put boundaries around that over the years. But I've always been that person that people came to,
Mm,
peers and non-peers. And so I just figured that I would develop that into, at first, I didn't know that it was something that I could actually do.
mhm.
But I would always have, some type of wisdom. I can remember 11 years old, stopping somebody from completing suicide. So I've just always kind of had that thing of not just listening, but being able to guide people on a journey. And so I went through life. I had my own issues when I got to undergrad. I dealt with perfectionism, which led to depression, anxiety,
Mhm.
all the things. So I had my stint with that, but I was also studying psychology. And I always say that that was kind of my saving grace, that I was learning certain things and certain principles. And after I finished my bachelor's, I'm like, let's just make this what I do.
Make it a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to
Yeah.
me because I had to reframe it. I was like, man, why does everybody keep coming to
Yeah.
me? And it's you're a safe space, and
Right.
people can tell when you're a safe space. You don't.
Right.
I feel like anybody that says, "Oh, hey guys, I'm a safe space,"
They're not a safe
they're not
space.
really a safe
No.
space. You just kind of feel it in the energy, and
Yeah.
you brought up faith a little bit. So how has faith gotten you through from that
Mm.
depression journey to where you are now?
Yeah. So if it had not been for faith, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
Amen.
So I was raised, I'm a PK. So
Okay.
I was raised in church all of my life, and eventually went into ministry myself. But the faith element is very important. And even now, I use faith based integration with my clients because I recognize how important it is for us to have some type of faith. It doesn't have to be the Christian faith. I have clients that are Muslim and Hindu and all of that, but having some type of faith, it has been studied and shown that it helps people actually build resilience
Mm,
and get through things. And so, because of my faith, I was able to walk through, even when I didn't want to go see a counselor, I was able to help to walk through and have some type of hope.
Right.
So it gave hope.
And so I can say faith, having that faith does help you get rooted
Yeah.
into yourself and actually learn more about yourself because it
Hmm.
uncovers the shackles and the things that you're trying to
Right.
hide,
Right.
which is like the mask of perfectionism
Hmm.
or,
Hmm.
just trying to be perfect. Don't want anybody to see you sweat. But I
Yeah.
always tell people, man, if you can't be authentic with yourself, you're not going to be authentic in the world.
Right.
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 And I even seen a post recently that someone said, um, stop going to therapy, just go to the book.
Hmm.
But I looked at it and I said, man, sometimes you can go into the book, but God will send you somebody
Absolutely.
to help you. He
Yeah.
blesses through people.
Right. Right.
and
Right.
and I think a problem is a lot of us are trying to get away from other people
Hmm.
and it's not realizing that that's where our help lies.
Yeah.
And so when you're dealing with these men and you're dealing with your faith, and can you see like some of the breakthroughs and the breakdowns happening in those moments?
Yeah, absolutely. And because I do faith based integration, I'll even pray with clients.
Mm,
If there's something that they want, I will pray with them. But I'm seeing that I don't have to quote scripture. I don't have to pray. I can,
mhm.
but I don't have to do any of that to really get through to the heart because we're body, soul, spirit.
Right.
So all of that is working together, is intertwined. And so I've found different ways to kind of hit different areas at different points and bring out the faith, especially when you ask questions like, how have you dealt with this in the past?
Mm,
What do you think would help you? And if someone says, my faith in God, okay, let's talk about that. Let's ride that and let's bring in some evidence based stuff that I learned in school. Let's put it together and let's get you a complete package of wholeness because that's what it's really about. Not just healing, because healing is just that journey
I think it
that you
never
walk on.
ends.
Yeah.
Never really ends till you hit the dirt.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. It doesn't. So you're always on that journey,
Mm,
and different people are at different stages of the journey, but we're all on that journey.
all right.
But the goal of it is to be a whole individual, whole body, soul, and spirit. So we can't take out any parts and expect clients or anybody else to be their best self,
All right.
right? So I often integrate all of that because we are a whole person.
Mm. Mind, body, and soul. I always say
Yeah,
they intertwine. When you're
absolutely.
working on one, the other one goes up.
Yep.
It never is never independent.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of issues that I've seen with Black men is childhood traumas,
Hmm.
right? And a lot of the things that we've been through because we've heard the suck it up and
Yeah.
boys don't cry
Right.
and
Right. Right.
we watching the girls get spoiled and we getting
Hmm.
scraps.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I agree as as boys we shouldn't get everything 'cause we should learn how to work for it.
Sure.
But when it comes to childhood trauma and dealing with your own, how did you get through it?
Mhm.
Or what was the trauma that got you?
Yeah. So it's really disproportionate when you talk about girls and boys because we have this societal expectation
Right.
that boys are to be a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
they're to act and they're to respond a certain way, especially when there's hurt or
Mm-hmm.
when there's danger, like you're supposed to step up and be the protector. So the reason I say that it's disproportionate is because both boys and girls need care,
Yeah.
they need emotional empathy, they need concern, they need all the things.
Mm-hmm.
So to answer your question, one of the things that I'm seeing as I'm dealing with black men is trauma
Mm-hmm.
that they don't know is trauma.
Like what?
So I'll give this example. So someone that was abused by their father or their mother, they may try to protect their parent so much that they don't see that the things that their parent did
Mhm.
was harmful to them,
Right.
right? So they can't even come to terms with, like, let's call this what it is, because that's not what it is. It's just my parent, right?
Right.
Being my parent. And so, and I'm not the person that like tells people to um not talk to their parents. Or like those are decisions that people have to make for themselves. But I do advocate for, hey, whoever perpetuated this trauma is in the eye of the beholder.
Right.
So it doesn't matter who perpetuated it. Like you have to be able to come to terms with this is what it is. This is who did it, because you will find yourself. And I even dealt with a client just the other day that was like cringing internally when one of their parents called.
Mm.
So we had to dive in and did like, let's really talk about, because you love your parent, you even like your parent, you still have a relationship, but there's something going on internally, and your body is saying to you, red flag,
Something's triggering.
stop. Right. So something is triggering. So let's get underneath the layers. I know that's your mom. I know that's your dad. We still respect them, but let's get to the person. Like, what is really going on here? And when we got to the root, there was trauma there
Mm.
that they failed to recognize as trauma because it was apparent.
And I think parent trauma is one of the hardest to get over
Yeah.
because it's you're my first love. And
Yeah.
for a male, mom is first love, dad is that first superhero.
Hmm.
But then it's like you're not expecting those people to hurt you,
Right.
and they hurt you.
And they're not intentionally hurting you most of the
Yeah.
time,
Mhm.
unless there's, just outright abuse. But that's what I see a lot. Like there was no intentional hurt, but the parents were learning,
Mhm.
right? The children are learning. So we're all learning together, but the child is more subject to get the backlash of, that negative effect of trauma.
Yeah. And I had the realization the other day because I dealt with parental trauma in my life and I was healing
Hmm.
from it. And I realized how I look back and I realized when my mom used to call me, I used to get triggered. But
Mm.
now she can call me and we can actually have a good conversation. We're
Yeah.
smiling, we're laughing.
Yeah.
And I think it took for me to get to the point of saying, my parents didn't know.
Yes.
And if you think about it, slavery wasn't that long ago.
Right.
And so they're still dealing with the trauma that their parents
Hmm.
gave them and they don't know how to heal.
Yeah.
Resources weren't as good back in the day.
Right.
And
Right.
so now we're getting the good resources and they're like, oh, I'm good.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
stuck
Yeah.
in their
Yeah.
ways. And so, like, it's the millennial group and the other groups coming under us are saying,
Hmm.
we got to change this
Yeah.
because it's healing. Um, so what would you say to that person right now who can tell like they're getting triggered by their parents? They can't sit in a room for more than 30 minutes with their
Hmm.
mom or their dad.
Yeah. I would say to them that there is something there.
Mhm.
It's something there that's worth exploring. Go ahead and do the work, right? So go to a therapist, go to maybe even a mentor, right? To see if you can kind of dig and see what is really going on. Why are you getting these reactions? Because again, the body is telling you there's something off. Like you may not be consciously aware of it, but your body is always going to tell you. It's always going to send messages to let you know, there's danger or there's perceived danger.
Fight or
But
flight mode.
yeah, fight, flight. And I love what you said. Like now you're able to see the progress. You're able to sit
Mhm.
and have a conversation with your mom without feeling triggered. But there was a time that you didn't
Mhm.
feel safe,
Right.
if I can use that word.
Yeah, that's the right word.
Yeah, yeah. So you didn't feel safe. There's a reason why
Mm.
you don't feel safe. So before you just completely disown the parental figure, I say do your own work.
Mhm.
And then that prepares you to have better interactions with them, whether they want to do the work or not. Because as you said, there's a generation that's like, just leave me alone. The past is in the past. I
Mhm.
did my best. And
Right.
that can feel dismissive and all of that. And it is, but you have to understand what generation they were raised in.
Yeah.
But you're in a generation now where, like you said, the resources are available.
Mhm.
You can go and you can seek out the help that you need to help navigate. So focus on yourself, and then that will extend to the parental relationship.
I can agree with that because I did a lot of the growth that I seen coming from
Mhm.
our relationship was a result of me getting better from
Yes.
my life and the way I perceive things and understanding of not even just her but my dad as well.
Hmm.
Um, and and so when we were talking about like these traumas holding us back,
Yeah.
I always said the first thing to do is acknowledge it.
Yes.
Because once you acknowledge it, you can remember it and you can see
Hmm.
it over and over and track it.
Hmm.
But a lot of us we don't know.
Right.
Like we're just I've come across people who were, man, that's just my dad. That's just the way they are.
Right.
That's just my mom,
Right.
and they've been abused. They've been
Hmm.
and I see how it shows up in their faith as well.
Yeah.
Because I feel like your earthly parents is your first,
Hmm.
interaction with parenthood.
Yeah.
So when you look at God, it's like, oh, they're not taking care of me. I
Right.
don't know if I'm gonna trust you to
Yes.
take care of me. And one of the things for me, I said was, man, I had to get it because my parents didn't do it for me. I always had to
There
get
you
it, had
go.
to get it, had to get it.
Yeah.
And like I told you before we started, like I've been sitting in the woods for the last 3 days.
Hmm.
And while I was sitting there, God was like, no, I did it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you're right. Like, you're right. Like the whole time I'm thinking I'm doing it, but you're being provided for.
Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
And when it comes to people, like you said, mentors,
Yeah.
some of the mentors, like I actually wanted to commit suicide at 16.
Mm.
But what kept me going was mentors, my
Yeah.
coaches. They were
Yeah.
pouring into us. It wasn't just football. It was, I'm gonna teach you how to be a man. I'm gonna
Right.
teach you the right ways. And so, what when you're looking at that as a holistic, or even just my example or other
Mhm.
people, does it break your heart? Like, does it something that just stirs you every time?
Yeah, I have a deep passion for this topic because so many times we're not aware
Or not?
of what is happening with us until we really do the work. And
Right.
I keep saying that because it is work.
It
And
is.
sometimes it can be uncomfortable,
Mhm.
but if you do the work, you'll like yourself and the outcome on the other side of that.
Agreed.
Yeah. So we have to be willing to do that work, but it breaks my heart when people, if they would just do the work, they could get beyond
Mhm.
what's happening, but they don't want to do the work.
I think some people are scared of themselves,
Yeah.
scared of what they might find,
Hmm.
but at the other end of it, you find yourself,
Yes.
right? Even when
Your true
in
self.
God, yeah, your true self.
Yeah.
That I had to look back for myself, and I said, man, the little boy I was, I remember him, and I could see him in the flesh because my son acts just like I did before
Mm.
everything happened. And I'm seeing it. I'm like, I was way more courageous and way
Yeah.
more confident
Yeah.
than I am now.
Yeah.
And I know it's because of the trauma, right?
Right.
And there's things of depression, the suicidal thoughts. In fellas, if you're feeling any type of suicidal thoughts, like please seek
Hmm.
help.
Please.
Please, because you deserve to be here. You deserve to be happy. You
Yes.
deserve everything. Even if you get in somebody's DM, say, "Hey, I need help." You
Yeah.
never know who knows who, right?
Right. Right.
Or what kind of connections can come from just a simple reach out.
Yep.
But so how was your childhood?
My childhood was, I always say, decent.
Okay.
It was a relatively normal childhood. I was, of course, raised in church,
Hmm.
in ministry, so that most of my trauma came by way of that.
Church hurt.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I wouldn't even say church hurt. I would say church trauma,
Okay.
which is a bit different. It's a bit deeper. But
I'm
because,
curious.
yeah, yeah. I was okay with my parents. You know, I had some clashes with my father that's been resolved
Okay.
and healed. But I'll say with my father, we were so much alike that we were different,
Okay.
and so that he was going through his healing journey as well. So our relationship is much better now. But I lean more on my mom,
Right.
you know, as a kind of a life guide and a confidant and all of that.
Okay.
But outside of working through that piece, which I think all of us have some level of childhood trauma because we have imperfect parents.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so on the ministry side, though, when I say church trauma, I started in ministry very young. So I started at 12.
Okay.
So if you can just imagine, like, I don't know how old your son is, but if you can imagine yourself at 12
Right.
and being in command and in charge of adults.
Can't do
Right?
it.
So
That's a lot. That's a
yeah,
lot
it is. It
for a kid.
is.
That's a lot to bear.
Yeah, it is. And at the time, I thought I could handle it, and I could.
Okay.
What I couldn't really handle was the backlash
Mm.
that I would receive because it all comes from God, you know, the wisdom and all that. And they're young leaders
Right.
in the Bible, right? All throughout the Bible. And Paul even told Timothy, don't let anybody despise your youth. I don't know if we can quote scripture, but
Oh,
okay.
do it.
Yeah. So,
Quote as many verses as you need to.
okay, good. So there's a lot of young people leading in the Bible, but it wasn't well received. So
Mhm.
I received a lot of backlash, a lot of adults who were jealous, insecure,
Afraid of change.
yeah, fear of change, said hateful things to me. And I actually just had a conversation with my dad before we started
Mhm.
about one of the things that someone told me
Mm.
about, you know, leaving the church, and if I left, you know, I wouldn't be this or that, I wouldn't be anointed. So I sacrificed a lot because I was carrying a lot.
Mm.
So I really, if I'm honest with you, I really didn't have a full childhood.
Mm.
My childhood ended at 12 because I stepped into this role, always being the responsible one, right? But I stepped into this role of having adult responsibility. So I had responsibilities before I had a driver's license.
That's crazy. You have siblings?
I have one sibling. My sister, she came along when I was 15 and a half.
Okay. So you don't.
So
You're the
technically,
oldest.
everybody say technically you were raised as the only child, and I was,
Right.
right? Because for 15 years I was this solo act,
Mm.
independent. I absolutely love my sister, but I was raised in a different context because I was
Okay.
by myself.
And I ask that because typically, like the oldest child or the
Hmm.
only child usually ends up getting more responsibilities
Yes,
fast.
yes.
Um, but so how did you navigate that though?
I navigated it through faith.
Okay.
So back to that question, a lot of prayer,
Hmm.
which made me more introspective. So I was able to see what was going on with me, like what was happening with me from time to time. I was always in tune with that because I was always praying.
Right.
So I was praying, I was reading, I had a connection with God. I still do, relationship with God. But I also had mentors. You know, everybody wasn't out to get me. I did have people that were pouring into me because it really does take a village.
Mm.
So outside of my parents, I had other people, mentors that were pouring into me. And so that really helped me to get through those different stages because you got to think like I'm growing in my calling, in ministry, and I'm also growing in life.
Right.
So this is 12 years old. I'm right before adolescence and puberty is starting. So I'm going through these stages as I am taking on these responsibilities and consecutively, like I all the way up through college and all of that, like I was still carrying a lot. And some of that fed into the perfectionism and the masking and the rejection and all of that, and trying to make sure that I was respected
Right.
and that I was, seen as a person, seen as an individual. Even now, I don't like being misunderstood. I don't like being mischaracterized. Those are triggers for me because there were, lies that were told. People didn't want to understand where I was coming from. I could say something, someone else says the same thing, but because I'm younger,
Mhm.
right, I don't have the license
Right.
to say that. And I've always been straight shooter, truth teller, blunt. But I've had to taper that back because of the experiences that I've had. So it's just a lot that came in with, and I don't take um, anything away from that journey. I don't think I would change
Mhm.
the fact that I started early, because knowing what I know now, I could take that back and walk through. So it all worked together for the good. And I'm glad that I have
Mhm.
that amount of years of experience dealing with people, because that's what
It's
ministry
hard.
is. it's people. Yeah.
On both fronts for you, ministry and as a therapist, dealing
Right.
with people, and dealing with
Right.
people can be one of the hardest things
Yes.
because a lot of people are walking around with trauma with no clue that they have the
No clue.
trauma. They're just responding and like, oh, this is how I've always been.
Right.
Right. And you said something that hit me. It was like there are safe people out there.
Yeah.
And as black men, we struggle to see that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we struggle to know like, okay, who's out to get me
Hmm.
and who's not. Because when we step out our door, you don't know if you're gonna come back alive or not.
Right. The world is out to get you.
The world is out to get you.
Yeah.
Even when you were a little boy, the world was plotting on you. You didn't
Absolutely.
we didn't realize it,
Right.
but they were.
Right.
Right. And now that like my son is coming up, I tell him, I'm like, you have to exceed the standard.
Yeah.
Because they're hoping that you fail. They're
Right.
hoping that they're calculating to say you're going to go to jail at some point
Hmm.
in life, and you will not.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
I'm speaking that over. You won't. And so when we're dealing with all these issues, these problems, this weight of the
Hmm.
world, it's powerful, and the strength comes from knowing yourself and your strength and your
Yes.
faith. Because you even said I got through with my faith.
Yeah.
Right. So as somebody who's walked through faith, who's in ministry, there's a guy out there somewhere who's like, I'm not doing that.
Mhm.
Like I'm not going that route.
Yeah.
What would you say to him?
I would say go the route that God has chosen for you.
Mm.
And that doesn't mean that has to be ministry. We all have our different paths
Right.
and the course that we take. But even if it's not ministry, you've taken a course, you've
Mm.
taken a path, and use whatever God has given you to walk that path out. Right. So for me, my journey took me through ministry. There was a reason, there are reasons that I had to go that way.
Mhm.
Right. But for another man, that may not even be on his radar, and that's okay. Whatever God has to use to teach you resilience and how to deal with people and how to get through, he's going to use whatever he has to use. For me, that was ministry, right? So don't look at anybody else and compare your journey to theirs. Just learn what you need to learn on the journey that you're on.
Right. But more so was referring to those guys who don't want to go through faith, who
Mm,
don't believe in faith, and says that just this book isn't going to do anything for me.
okay, gotcha. So what I would say to that is you are going to believe in something.
So you have to.
Yeah, yeah. Even people that say I don't believe, like you're going to believe in something, whatever that is. Find what it is,
Mm.
because God created us all, and even if we don't return back to Him, I believe that there's a space in us that will always be for Him
Always, yeah.
because we came out of Him. So that space is always going to be there. And like I said, hopefully you journey back to God, but if you don't, you're going to feel it with something,
Right.
right? So find whatever that belief system is and ride that out. But you have to have, as a human being, you have to have faith and hope. Those work together. So you have something that you believe in. Find what that is, even if it's yourself. Start there, right? Because God is in you, so you're believing in God when you believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it always comes back to belief. We're going to believe something. So find what works for you and go that journey, go that path.
I like the fact that you don't push it. Right.
Yeah.
It's like you're like, I'm a man of faith. I believe in
Right.
God. I have a relationship with him. But if this is not your path,
Yeah.
if you
It's
don't want
just
to go,
not your thing.
yeah.
Yeah. Because you're not going to buy into it. You're not
Right.
going to commit to it if you have not had an epiphany or revelation, any of that. I've had my personal one,
Mhm.
but I cannot, especially as a counselor, I can't push that on you and say, this is the route that you need to go because it worked for me.
Right. 'Cause there is I think when you follow in Christ, there is a level of ministry. It
Yeah,
may not be
always.
like I'm in a pulpit, but
Yeah,
just being out in the world and
right.
just doing. I was watching. I forgot what movie I was watching recently. Um, but the guy, he wanted to be a pastor.
Mm,
He was like, I don't want to do the rest of that stuff. I don't want to be a cop anymore. I want to be a pastor. And his dad says, son, the Jesus' ministry is out here in the streets.
yeah,
He's like, you don't have to be a pastor to do the ministry.
right.
He's like, just being out here helping people. He
Yes,
said that is the ministry of Jesus.
yes.
And it took me, because for a while I would have people say like, you gifted. I'm
Yeah,
like, not that
yeah.
gifted.
Well,
Like that's
gifted where? Gifted
right.
to be placed where? Because we don't
Well,
need all the gifts in one spot
yeah, they were
trying to
saying I'm
pastor.
gifted in the fact of like ministry, like
Yeah, yeah, I
they
follow.
can
Yeah,
tell I've been fed, and they can tell like
yeah.
I have the knowledge I've been studying.
Right. But people will try to use that to push you into
Yeah.
what they think that gift fits into. That's what I meant by
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But see, and that to a good point though,
Yeah.
that tells you why you have to spend time with God and get that
Right.
discernment.
Right.
Because the enemy will send people. And I was
Mhm.
actually studying Nehemiah yesterday. And one of the points I got from it is all invitations aren't good invitations.
Absolutely.
You remember when he was working, the guys were like, "Hey,
Come
come
down.
down here with
Yep.
us," and he was like, "Yeah, they're gonna kill me. I'm
Right,
good."
right, right.
Like it's that discernment, because every opportunity isn't a good
Mm-mm,
opportunity
it's
for
not.
you. Every room you walk in isn't for you. Just because you fit
Right.
in doesn't mean you're supposed to be there.
Right.
Right. And so, how are you navigating like this ministry, therapy, just being a black man? Like,
Mhm.
how are you enjoying life through all these things?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it because I'm fulfilled by it,
Okay.
which is why I know that it's my path.
Mm.
So people often look at what I do and all that I do, and they're like, "How do you do that?" I don't know how you do that. I would burn out. I wouldn't enjoy that. And what my response to them is, I enjoy it, and I'm good because it's my path.
Yeah.
I love what Oprah said. She said, "I'm living God's dream for me."
Amen.
So when I look at my life, not perfect, right? There are some things that can be
Nobody
adjusted,
is.
always, but I'm living God's dream for me.
Mm.
And even the dreams that I put down, and because of life, I was like, well, I guess I won't be able to do that. Now God has brought me into full circle moments where I'm able to pick back up some things that I placed to the side because of life and all the things. So I feel like I've been able to reinvent myself like almost at every decade,
Oh yeah.
coming into my authentic self, because all of it is me. But that's my path, that's my journey. I'm loving it, I'm enjoying it. I have friends and family, I have mentors, I have brothers, I have accountability galore. Like I have accountability everywhere for everything, because I believe that that keeps us on path and on track because we're not perfect.
Mm.
So I'm enjoying my journey.
Community is important.
Absolutely.
Even amongst each other as men,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's hard because sometimes your family don't understand,
Mm,
your friends won't understand,
yeah.
kids won't understand, and I push it all the time. I was like, find a community,
Right.
and it doesn't have to be something you pay thousands of dollars
No.
for. It could be a run club around the corner.
Mhm.
It can be just you and your friends. Y'all link up with other friends that you
Right.
met, and just form a little community.
Yep.
And so you're with the faith, you got community, and you just see the growth in your life every day.
Yes. Yes. And my community, I would say I built it brick by brick. I
That's
built it. So these are guys that I've been in relationship with since some since undergrad
okay.
and up. So this is like we're talking 20 years or so of accumulating, I would say. Friends, brothers. And I think about my community, and I always tell people this, like you can't put everybody in the same category.
Oh, no.
Everybody doesn't have the same capacity. So there are certain
Please
brothers,
understand that.
there are certain brothers that I can talk to about this,
Mhm.
but I can't really talk to them about the other things. So I've made a joke often like to really understand me, all of them are gonna have to get together and put all their pieces
Right.
together, because everybody doesn't have. Maybe my best friend, he has probably more than anybody, but
It's always one.
yeah, but he didn't even have all of it. So
Right.
everybody has their own thing that is vaulted, that I trust them with,
Nah.
that we may share in common, and I'm bouncing ideas, and it's reciprocal because they're also able to ask me questions and
Give,
bounce
take
ideas off of me.
relationships.
Right. So it's give and take. It's not parasitic.
Right.
So I've accumulated these brothers over the years, and I enjoy having them in my circle. Some of them know one another because I've introduced them. Some of them don't, but that's okay. But it's my community
Mhm.
that I've built is tailor made for me and what I need.
So would you say you strategically built your community, or did it just one of those things that it strategically planned it, or is it just happen that organically?
I'm gonna say organically.
Okay,
I don't think I could have planned a better group.
I don't think you can.
Yeah.
I think it just come forward.
And I don't think I was even thinking about, because I grew up an only child,
Right,
right? So I wasn't accustomed to having. I was accustomed to dealing with people in ministry,
right.
right? So and then after that, retreating back to my cave, and even now, I don't have an issue like being alone and by myself and not having human interaction. I'm okay.
That's the most peace. That is the most peace,
I
bro.
promise I'm okay. And, I can come out and interact, as needed, but that's not always life. But I'm good if that's the space I have to be in. So I don't even think that I started off in my journey trying to accumulate,
Mm,
friends and brothers strategically. I wasn't thinking about a strategy.
right.
These are just people that God, I believe, sent into my life. And I was able to kind of look back and see, okay, well, this person is for this person is for that, and see how every area of my life is covered. It wasn't me, it was God.
Mm. And I like to say that well, not sometimes, every time you don't really know what you need.
Yeah,
God does.
right.
And sometimes he will send you, or most times he will send you what you need without you realizing.
Yes.
And sometimes it takes for you to sit back and reevaluate like your
Hmm.
friendships, yourself, to see like, man, okay, I see why you
Right.
here.
I
Like
see why.
you were a gift.
Yeah.
And I did my first episode with a couple of my homeboys, and we all agreed. We prayed for a friend group.
Mm.
Like it
Hmm.
wasn't. We didn't get in the group and say, "Hey, let's just kick it." It was,
Yeah.
"Hey, like individually praying for
Right.
it," and then eventually it just happened organically, and
Yeah.
we've been kicking it ever since.
Yeah.
And but I know there's a lot of guys who don't want to go out.
Mm.
They're stuck in that isolation. That was me for the last couple years, like 3 years, trying to
Yeah.
figure out on my own, right? And as a therapist, how does that look from your standpoint? Or someone who wants to be more isolated and never like communicate with community.
You know, we're taught to meet clients where they are.
Okay.
So I can respect it.
Mhm.
I can respect it and honor it and still ask the right questions to pull out, why do you feel that way?
Okay.
And that begins to open a person up to even hear themselves say why they feel this way. And I'm making that point because neurobiologically we were not designed to be by ourselves.
Right.
We
And God
were
said it's not good for man to be alone.
right.
It wasn't just talking about women, fellas.
Thank you. I say that all the time because that's one of the most misquoted, misapplied scriptures
Mhm.
in the Old Testament. Like he wasn't just talking about marriage.
Right.
He looked and he saw that every animal had at least a pair.
You're right.
And for Adam, there was no one.
Mhm.
Right. So in God's intelligence, he made the woman. But the principle is it's not good for a man to be alone,
Right.
to do this life alone.
Mhm.
So he wired us for connection with people who look like us and who can relate to us. So none of us are designed to be by ourselves all the time. Some of us enjoy it more than others, and we have a higher tolerance for it, like we can do it longer, but we all have that innate desire to be with others.
Connect.
So what, yeah, to connect. So when I'm dealing with someone who's a complete loner that doesn't want any connection, I'm more than likely looking at trauma.
Mhm.
And as a therapist, I want to ask the right questions to dig into that and see why this is the way that it is.
Hmm. That's a good point.
Mm.
It also made me think too, because I always say that God wants relationship.
Yeah,
So if the one who created us wanted a relationship, something
right.
about you wants relationship.
Absolutely.
Because and then even in that same verse, it shows you that you can have a relationship with God, but you're gonna need a little bit more than
Yeah,
that. You need
absolutely.
that partner. You need a
That's good.
physical community that
Hmm.
you can see. Because if he could do it all by himself, and which he could, he wouldn't have made Eve.
Right.
It would have just been Adam, and everybody would have had one.
Right, right.
We moved on. And it's hard. I know, coming from a place of just I love the isolation. I love the
Mhm.
box that I put myself in.
Yeah,
But I can also say that it leads to depression.
it does.
Just you go crazy.
Hmm.
That's why they put people in solitary confinement,
Yeah.
right? To make them go
Torture.
crazy, to try to
Yeah.
break them.
Yeah.
And it's not good.
Yeah.
I've had days where I've broken down because I was in that space by myself, trying to figure
Mhm.
it out, trying to pick up the weight. But I can say having that community, it has helped. It's
Yeah.
lightened the load. Even just being there and say, hey, bro, you got this. You
Right,
can do it.
right.
It's so simple words. It's a lot of people think like, oh, I need people to come in and help me financially with this or
Mhm.
at that, or
Mhm.
help me build this. And it's like everybody in your life isn't there to help you build.
Right.
Some of them are just there for support.
Yep.
and their support may not be what you want all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but you
Mm-hmm.
have to learn to accept it and really get rooted in God to say, okay, this is the support I need.
Right. Right. And like I said, measure everybody properly
Oh yeah.
because everybody's not built for building.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are just support. Some people are temporary support. And I think we ride that a little too much because we're just kind of swapping out people in our community. And that's another issue, right? So
Yeah.
that digs into like, why are you not able to have long term sustainable relationships? Like, it's a flex to say I have had this friend for 20, 30 years.
Right.
But I think for this generation, it's more so like, no, I'm going to just kind of push you to the side. And I tell people, I won't say never, I've hardly ever cut anyone off.
Okay.
What I do is I reposition people.
Explain that.
Yeah. So think about it like a theater. You go into the theater, there's a front row seat, and then it goes all the way to the back into the balcony. So there are some people in this season of your life that have front row access.
Okay.
Right? They might be close, right up front.
Mm-hmm.
Different seasons of life changes those dynamics.
Okay.
So maybe instead of putting them out of the building, maybe they go back a few rows. Maybe they go to the balcony, but you are the CEO of your life. So you have that ability to be able to move people around as you see fit. So I've hardly ever put anybody just like out of the door. You're still in the building, but you're not up close.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Because you have to do it unapologetically too. Like,
yes.
You have to be like, this is my life and this is how I need it.
Yes.
And you don't have to put an alarm out.
Right.
Or out.
Absolutely.
It's just to be like, hey, you got pushed to the balcony.
Yeah. Right.
Just do it.
You know when you got pushed to the balcony.
Yeah. Just do it. Because I can say there are seasons where I have friends who I hung out with a lot and then I didn't talk to them for years. But then now we back and like kicking and catch up. And it's funny to see because I tell my kids like, those friends that you see in school now may not be your friends. You're probably not even going to remember half those people that you know.
No.
So don't break your neck, trying to help these people over and over. But that was an amazing analogy that you gave me because I'm up here processing it. But I say because there are people who have issues with relationships.
Yeah.
Right. For a while, I couldn't keep one past like 2-3 years. And I never figured out why. Right. And it was like, all right, I'm getting tired of you. Move on.
Yeah.
Right. And I say I was searching for something. I didn't know what it was. It may have been my mother's love or whatever. But from your standpoint, what do you think can contribute to that?
I think, just to be very blunt, it's almost like a drug high.
Okay.
So you're always searching because that gives those connections boost our dopamine, like they make us feel good. But I think as we go throughout and we journey with people, we start to see different things. Maybe the excitement wears off. We're not as invested in the relationship, and it's easier to kind of push that person to the side, walk away, and say, "Well, let me get somebody else. Let me get a new set of friends." And it's just a dopamine high. Like you're trying to feel that excitement when relationships aren't always exciting. They'll work.
Okay. Basically chasing a high.
Yeah, chasing a high.
Okay.
And also, as you said, like chasing love, like looking for who you were rejected by or abandoned by in this person. And when they don't supply that or they don't look like what you need them to look like, well, let me just move on. But you'll never be able to chase the person you're trying to find. So it just becomes a pattern and a cycle.
With that, fellas, let me say, love yourself.
Yeah, start there.
That is the best starting point.
Yes.
And for me, my world got rocked because I was like very angry and very just to myself. But my wife came in and was just like, no, let's get it together.
Yeah.
And it was like, sometimes you need that push. Somebody to come in and say like, hey, let's open the window, get some light in here, and shine on the dirt and let's clean up.
Right.
And even through my rough times, it's like just having that love. God is all about, God and Jesus are all about love.
All about love.
Showing and love wins every time, right?
Every time.
And it's healing. If we allow it to come in,
right?
Because a lot of us are so broken down. Like I was reading The Untethered Soul, and the way he put it was, so much trauma happened as a kid that we started to build this fortress of protection.
Yeah,
we closed all the windows, closed all the doors, locked everything, so nobody can get in and nobody can get out.
Right.
And we have trouble trusting people.
Yeah.
Right. And I see it a lot in a lot of Black men. They're just like pass.
Yeah.
But I'm also starting to see a change in wanting to grow.
Yeah.
Wanting to heal, which is a beautiful thing for me because
Right.
I get to see it. Right?
Yeah.
I get to see it. It's becoming a norm, especially us with boys that are coming up. Right.
Yeah.
We want them to see a healthy, what it looks like to be healthy, what happy. What's the youngest age that you take?
10.
10?
Yeah.
Oh, so you have boys too.
Yeah. And I Usually like teenagers or what I get.
Mhm.
But I go down to 10, nothing younger than 10.
Mm.
But I want to go back to something you said, and it'll tie to this question.
Okay.
Um, when we experience those traumas, and you gave the analogy of like closing the blinds, closing the doors, two things out of that. One thing is, um, as we grow into men, sometimes we're still locked
Yep.
in those rooms.
Hmm.
It's called a fragmented soul. So we have parts of us, and you probably heard it this way, like the little boy in you or the little girl
Yeah.
in you. One intervention I do is to have, especially men, to write a letter to that young boy.
I had people do that before.
Yeah, let's talk to him. Let's get him out of that room because you're a grown man, and a part of you is still locked
Right.
into that room. So they're pieces of your soul in different places. And I learned that from a lady named Bev Tucker, talking about like how the soul gets kind of locked
Hmm.
in these different spots. And it comports to what I teach, clients in therapy through psychology learning. Like you can get locked in those rooms and not come out. And then when we become adults, not only do we stay locked, but we create walls or we build walls
Hmm.
and we call them boundaries.
Yeah, I think that's for men and women too, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah, people like and that goes even back to the discussion earlier about like, cutting your parents off or not dealing, not dealing. Sometimes we say like, I'm protecting my peace,
Hmm.
but it's really us building that wall to keep ourselves in. But the danger in that is if you keep yourself in, you block others out.
Right.
So like your wife said, let's build a window in here. Let's get some light. Let's Because that's what happens. We tend to create, and because boundaries is one of the buzzwords
Right.
now, everybody's saying I'm creating boundaries.
Words go viral.
Yeah, along with trauma. So like everything is trauma, everybody's a narcissist. So so we create these walls,
Mhm.
but they're not productive
Right.
because we are so locked in and caged in and don't realize it.
Right.
It's not a boundary if it's not allowing you to deal with yourself.
Because you have to deal with yourself.
You have to deal
That's
with
why I said
yourself.
there's a yin and a yang to everything,
Yeah.
a dark and a light to it.
Well,
Like there's a unhealthy boundaries of what you just said,
hmm
and there are those healthy boundaries.
right.
So, what are some examples for healthy boundaries?
Yeah. So a boundary, let me just say this, is a limit.
Hmm.
That's all it is. So it's not you not dealing with people, it's you dealing with people in a different way
Okay.
on different terms. So a boundary may be something simple like no phone calls after 9.
Okay.
Yeah. So if that's just simple, I mean that's an issue that may be in your life, and you may have people, including family, that are calling you like all times of night, asking for money, like just different stuff.
Please don't call me.
A boundary, a really simple boundary, is I don't take calls after 9, and my
Right.
phone goes into do not disturb. If you're on fire, call 911, kind of thing.
Hmm.
But that's just a simple example of I'm not going to say to that person, or I don't recommend you say to the person, well, don't call me anymore at all.
Right.
Like, don't speak to me no more in life because you asked me for $20 last week and you asked me for it this week.
Right.
That's that extreme. And many times where there is trauma, there is black and white. There's extremes because extremes are safe.
Right.
Yeah. So the extreme and the wall would be just don't call me at all. I'm blocking your number. Like I've talked to clients. I'm like, well, why do you have this person, blocked in your phone? They're your family member. Well, they did this. And I'm like, let's walk back through. And I'm not telling you to unblock them, but let's really think through the motivation of why you block them. Does that level of a wall,
Hmm.
like is that justified by what
Right.
they did? But because we've heard boundaries over and over without proper explanation, that's what we go to, especially in our generation. Like, oh, just cut them off, just don't deal with them anymore. And it's impossible to keep relationships
Right.
if you keep cutting people off.
Because we all mess up at times.
Yeah,
Marriages, friendships,
all of it.
any kind of relationship.
Yeah,
There's always a hiccup. And studying the greats, I say, man, a lot of them had conflict with their right hand man,
yeah.
but they got over that conflict and they went to a new level.
Hmm.
Anytime I had any conflict in my marriage, we talked about it, we went to a new level.
Yeah.
So it's instead of running away from conflict,
Hmm.
run towards it
Run towards it.
with power and with strength.
Yeah.
Especially as a man, like we're supposed to be leaders. And I would say you have to lead yourself
Yes.
before you can lead
Self-led.
anybody else.
Hmm.
Because how can you lead anybody in the light if you can't lead yourself in the dark?
There you go.
It's easier
I
to
love
lead
it.
in the light. You can
Yeah.
see everything, right?
Right.
And there's some things that might come out of nowhere,
Hmm.
but you still have to show up strong and will to keep going.
Yeah, definitely.
But I forgot what my next thought was. I'm gonna edit this part out.
Okay.
But man, this has been a great conversation, really
Yes,
though.
sir.
If you have not liked, shared, or subscribed, please do so now. Send this to anybody who can use the help. I know this
Yeah,
platform is for men, but I think this conversation can really touch women too.
absolutely.
And but I like to focus on men because we are the leaders, like I said, and
Yeah,
we
yeah.
are the ones who it trickles down from us. Like
Hmm.
any successful business, it starts at the top and
Yeah,
it trickles down. And I try to take that same scenario when it comes to like families,
right.
right? Do you do families at all?
Yeah, so with great trepidation. So marriage counseling, family counseling is it can be extremely difficult
Okay.
because but I do it, but you're dealing with two different people
Personalities.
and personalities and trauma histories and all, like you're dealing with all that in the same space.
Mhm.
Sometimes it is hard to strike a good balance. One party at different times is always going to feel like you're on this side and not on that side. So it's just hard work to do. Most therapists that I know have like shied away from marriage and family counseling unless it's like their specialty.
That's
What I've done is I've limited the amount because it is a different type of emotional toil
mhm.
dealing with two people who have two different sets of issues. And one thing that I've started doing, well, I didn't just start doing it, I've been doing it for a while. If I'm seeing issues that are prevalent and it's like this is not a family or a marriage issue, this is a you issue because we bring all of that
Into marriage, it
into
highlights it.
marriages,
Ooh,
relationships, and it just
you're
blows
like
it
the
up.
mirror.
Yeah, yeah. So what intervention that I would do, like when things get really bumpy, okay, you do individual
Mhm.
work, you do individual work, because now I'm seeing one or more person's individual stuff come up in session,
Right,
and we can't really deal with that because that's your stuff.
right.
You have to own your stuff. So I've referred people out, like you go find a I'll help you. Like you go find a counselor, you go find a counselor, work through some of the things that you're dealing with as individuals, and then let's come back together and talk through the collective because it's only as healthy as you are in it.
Mhm.
So if you're not healthy in it, that contributes to the negative dynamic.
Right. And
Yeah.
when I tell you like your spouse is a mirror, like and you start to and it's good to have one because you can see like what's wrong with each other and kind of
Yeah.
highlight it with love, please.
Yeah.
Like don't be a hole about it.
Right.
Um, but I can say that the separate thing does work.
Yeah. Because it's
Like
good
go ahead.
as long as you want to see it.
Right.
But if you don't want to see it, then you need to have some separate counseling so that you can potentially see more of yourself.
I like the separate counseling. I haven't done marriage counseling before.
Okay.
We both had our own therapist, but
Yeah. I celebrate that.
instead of focusing on like this is what's wrong with our marriage, it was okay. You go back to your childhood
Yeah.
and you
Because
work
this
through
is
those
me.
things,
Yes.
and I'm gonna go back to my childhood
That's
and
the
work
best way
through.
to do it.
And if we have an issue in the marriage, because like we used to come up with a term, we laughed about it. It was called you therapy me, right? And so, for example of that was like I would go to my therapist one day and I said, "Hey, like I just can't figure out why she's reacting like this when I'm
Mhm.
literally just trying to help us get better."
Yeah.
And he stopped for a second. He thought he was like, I wonder if she had to perform as a kid. He said, go and ask her that.
Yeah.
And I did. And she was like, yeah, I did. I was like, oh, that was a breaking moment. I was like, I don't
Mhm.
need you to perform. I just need you to show up.
Right.
Like,
Right.
however you got to show up every day, just show up.
Sure.
And so she was like, oh, you therapied me.
Right.
Yeah. And it would be vice versa. Little things. She'll come ask me random questions. I'm like,
Mhm.
that's a strange question.
Right.
And I'll
Right. That's
answer it.
good.
And she goes, oh, I just therapied you. I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
I
So
think that's a great,
we made a game out of
fun
it.
way to do that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Without the other person feeling like you are intentionally trying to
Yeah.
degrade them and those defenses go up.
Yeah.
Right. But if you're both working, then that both contributes to the health of the marriage.
And let this be a lesson that healing can be fun.
Yeah.
It
It can
can
be.
be. There's just days where it's hard,
Yeah.
but it can be fun.
Yeah. It can be enjoyable.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when you're seeing, like, I actually saw someone say that they're wondering why there's a lot of broken men walking around and
Mm.
not enough going to therapy. My response was the numbers of black men actually going to therapy is increasing.
It is.
Um, tremendously.
It is.
Like
Mhm.
I've tried to tell my mom, my dad, like maybe you should try therapy. Both of them was like, no, right? But our generations and younger, everybody's kind of more open to
Yeah.
it, and it takes platforms like these where it's
Yes.
normalizing the conversation, bringing on therapists, we're having conversation.
Sure.
Um, but I truly believe that every man should have a therapist
I agree.
to and interview your therapist. Have you ever had like people just like come interview you?
And I love it
Mm.
because you are the client.
Okay.
You are in the driver's seat. I'm in the car with you, but you're in the driver's seat. So, especially in the Black community, we're very loyal
Right.
to our medical professionals. So often we don't ask questions. Are you telling me to take this pill? Okay, I'll take this pill. No, we need to have a conversation.
Blind loyalty.
Right. Right. We need to have a conversation about why am I taking this pill? What are the side effects? What are other options so that we can make an informed decision. We can collaborate. So I definitely encourage people look me up, Google me, go on the websites to see if I'm really licensed. Go to my YouTube, like do all of that. Call me if you have to. I used to not like doing it, but I started back doing like a 15-minute, 10 to 15-minute consultation. Like if you have questions, let's talk about it, right? Because you do need to interview me because you're trusting me with your life
Secrets. Yeah.
and your secrets.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So I can say my first time I just picked somebody. I just went with it. But the second time I sat for like 2 or 3 days
Mhm.
and I was on call at least for like 10, 15 minutes
Yeah.
with different therapists
Good.
until I found the one where I was like, this one.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
But to those guys who aren't thinking about therapy, they don't want to do it because they just don't want to be seen.
Yeah.
They feel like they don't have the time to. But I
Mhm.
think that's a misconception
Yeah.
for us as men. We don't
Mhm.
have time.
Right.
And it's like if you have time to do the fun stuff, you have time to pour into
Right.
yourself. I had a friend last year. She said, I used to tell myself I didn't have time.
Hmm.
And she said every day I spent 45 minutes in a Starbucks line. I said, oh, there goes your time.
There you go.
It's
Yeah.
right there. And the extra time that you're working,
Mhm.
the partying time, the
Yep.
clubbing time. And I tell people there's nothing in the club but an STD
There you go.
and liquor, to be completely
And other
honest
things.
with
Yeah.
you. But to those guys, I just want you to give some words of encouragement to them.
Yeah.
Right. Throw a scripture in there if you need to.
Okay. I would just come at it from a very practical approach. Look at your life
Mhm.
and see if what you are currently doing is working.
Towards the goal that you have.
Yeah. Is this who you want to be?
Mhm.
Like, is this who you are becoming? Is this who you want your son, your daughter to see?
Right.
Is this who you want them to be? After you start taking an inventory and really self-reflecting, you'll start to see areas in your life for growth, like growth opportunities. So I encourage any man to take the time, like you said, we have time. We just have to find it, make the investment, do what works for you. Most of my clients are virtual. That works for them. Busy schedule, they can hop in front of a computer or a phone. We can have a conversation without the extra time of travel.
All right.
Right. But you have to be able to prioritize yourself and put yourself first, because if you're not good for yourself, you're not going to be good for anybody else. And that is so cliche. We've heard it before, but it is so very true. So I encourage any man, especially my brothers, to make the investment to be better. Not that you're not good right now, great right now, but we can all be better. And we all have things that we have to deal with.
I like remote.
Okay.
For me,
I like doing remote.
For me,
Yeah.
it was like, especially in Houston, get in the car,
Absolutely.
fighting traffic, just to go sit in somebody's office
Right.
and talk about my life. Like before I get there, I'm already frustrated.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so for me, I love remote because
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I can prepare for it mentally
Mhm.
and then go into it.
Yes.
And for first, this to any guy who's like struggling or scared, just try it.
Yeah.
When I first started, I was kind of like, I ain't gonna give you
Mhm.
too much. I don't really know you like that.
Yeah. And that's fine.
Right.
But
And it's fine.
yeah.
You take your baby steps, right? But as I kept going, I got more comfortable with it to
Mhm.
the point to where I was like, oh, this happened. Let me put
Yeah.
this in my notes
Right.
and bring it up
There you
in
go.
therapy and
Yeah.
unpack it. And it's some of those unpacking moments. I would say you have to go through your luggage. You have to go through and clean it
Mhm.
out.
Yeah.
I think some people are living that life where they just got back from a trip and their bags are still packed and they
Yeah.
just sit to the side or in the corner or something
Yeah.
for the next 2 months until
We
the
all
next
do
trip.
it. Yeah.
I had to start doing that. But some people, that's how we live our lives.
Mhm.
And I noticed like just getting comfortable in that space. And I
Yeah.
know it's hard for you as a therapist because it's like, okay, I'm tasked with being your safe space.
Yeah.
I'm tasked with hearing you and making sure you're heard, making sure that you feel safe.
Mhm.
And so and one thing I've learned from dealing with and coaching people is you have to pour into yourself.
Absolutely.
So how are you pouring into yourself?
Yeah. So I have a whole self-care plan. And I pour into myself. I'll start with the basics like audiobooks,
Okay.
podcasts, adding yours to the rotation of the podcast that I listen to. I have mentors. I am a counselor who has a counselor, and I believe that that's extremely important.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm actually a little behind on my sessions. I need to catch up. But as you're, like you said, carrying people, you have to have another space where you release and unpack your own stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. And even back to the black man that may be apprehensive, you may say, I don't want to deal with any childhood stuff, any old stuff. There's enough current stuff
Yeah, yeah.
in your life going
Stuff
on to,
happening every day.
yeah, just start unpacking that, even if you don't want to go far back. And so I love going to my therapist to be able to unpack. I do deep breathing, of course, prayer. Times like Mondays, I generally set aside, like I said, Mondays are for me. That's my day to not do anything. And I was off track with that, starting to get back on track now that some things are settling.
Okay.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
happens.
it happens. But I keep that as something that I love to do to just reset
Right.
on Mondays, especially after dealing with so many people with so many issues. I have to have my own space to just release. And hobbies. Like I started telling clients, like, just Google hobbies.
Find something new to try.
Find something new. For me, it was cooking. I always liked to cook, but I didn't really have a need to because I was single. Because you cook, you have all this stuff
Right.
left over. But I started to discover, like, a year and a half ago, like, I really like being in the kitchen. It's cathartic, which means it's therapeutic. It's not therapy, right? Because some people say, "Well, I go to the gym." That's not therapy. That's therapeutic. That's the hobbies that kind of keep you going, and those are things that you can do in the meantime. So for me, it was cooking. Like, I'm type A personality. I enjoy following directions.
Okay.
X, Y, Z result. Like, so I enjoyed that. And I enjoy people enjoying what I've created. So that became something for me to just kind of relax, have some downtime. So I find my ways to get what I need to pour back into me so that I'm good for other people.
Yeah, you have to try new things.
Yeah.
You have to. And I know one thing that in our community is that's some other people's stuff. I'm
Yeah.
not doing that.
Right.
Like,
Right. And that's the very thing that you should try. Right.
They know. And it's like we have to like open our mind to things. Like I didn't tell anybody I was going to the woods when I left, and my mom found out. She was like, "What are you going through?" I'm like,
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that because that's not something we do.
Right.
Yeah,
I just
we
like
don't
to
go
be
to
in
the
nature.
woods.
Like,
Yeah.
I've always been a nature person. Like I'm the one. Me and my wife are the ones who will go on a trip and be with the animals. Like we'll go kick it with the animals.
Yeah.
Or going to the beach. But I was like, I haven't been in the woods for a while.
Yeah.
And I felt called to go. So I was like, oh, and I've been enjoying myself.
Good. Yeah.
Going right back after this.
Yeah.
But I just want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
We had a great conversation.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being authentically you.
Yeah.
Brother, we all go through our hardships. We all struggling with something.
Yeah.
But the fact that you're able to show up says a lot about you and your character. And then your presence is just calm. Like, some people's you could tell their energy's off. But since you walked through the door, you were very calm and just filled the room up. So I definitely want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And any man who's looking for a therapist, here's one.
All throughout Texas, I'm licensed in Mississippi as well. So.
Right. See, here's one, especially my Houston guys, Texas guys, wherever you are, Mississippi as well. Reach out. I'll put his information in the show notes so you guys can reach out. This is the first step, man. Healing yourself. Is just finding that inner kid, going back to that kid to get that inner king, because you have to grow up and it has to grow and flourish. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah,
but thank you guys for coming. Like, share, subscribe. See you guys next week.